Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about the different supplies you need for pattern making. So if you want to get into creating your own patterns for your sewing projects, these are the things you're going to need to do that. So the first thing you need is paper, of course. So the paper I use is marking paper, and this paper, as you can see, it has marks on it. In it's everything is like spaced out by inches, by an inch, so it makes it easier to create straight lines as well as to determine spacing between things and like to create seam allowances and stuff after you've created your pattern. So I really do like to use pattern marking paper. You can also just use, if you can get like a roll of craft paper, that would also work, or just a roll of blank paper. Really, you can use whatever paper, but if you can get your hands on marking paper, I definitely would recommend it. It's not expensive at all. You could probably order some off of Amazon. If I can find links to some of these products, whether it's the exact same or something similar I've used, I'll put the link down in the description box. But you can check these on Amazon, as well as a lot of these supplies. Like for instance, I live in Toronto, so if you go to Queen and Spadina, there's a lot of fabric stores over there. You can get a lot of your supplies from there as well. So if you're in Toronto, I definitely suggest that area to check out. Also Fabric Land as well if you're in Canada. So first thing you need, paper, so marking paper. Then after that, I would recommend some type of hard paper. So when you create your blocks, you're going to, once you create pattern blocks, you're going to be reusing them to create different designs and different patterns. So I would suggest that you have your block created on some either like cardstock, this is oak tag paper, Bristol board paper, some type of paper like that, so it's just sturdy and more durable. So that's just what it looks like. And then after the paper, the next thing you're going to need are rulers. So the most important ruler that I would recommend is the 18-inch see-through ruler. So as you can see this, you have, trying to stop it from reflecting, so you have centimeters at the bottom and then you have inches at the top. So it's divided by an inch with these bold lines, and then this is an inch, and then you have half an inch, and just everything. So if you are like, this is really helpful if you are creating seam allowances and stuff. As I do more pattern videos, you'll see how this ruler is used. Really helpful ruler. I know that they sell this on at Fabric Land. You can also get this most likely on Amazon. Also check out Michael's. So this ruler I would highly recommend, and it's a bit longer than like a normal ruler. It's 18 inches or 45 centimeters or 45 centimeters. So like normal school rulers are usually, I think, 30 centimeters long. So this would definitely help to create longer straight lines. So I'd recommend that. The next ruler is the Variform ruler. So I got this from a store in Toronto, just that Queen and Spadina area I was talking to you guys about. You can also order this off Amazon. So this really helps to draw in curves, especially if you're doing like waistbands or hip lines. This one is really useful. So I'd recommend the Variform curve ruler, as well as you're gonna need some French curves. So I actually got this from Michael's. I think it was like $8.99 to $11.99, something like that. And it comes in a pack of 3. I also know that they do carry French curve rulers at Staples. So Staples is another place I would recommend to get rulers. You could check to see if they have this 18-inch C-curve ruler as well. But I got these French curve rulers from Michael's. So these are good for drawing curves. I like to really use these if I'm drawing the armhole or the neckline. If I'm creating curves from those, these ones are really helpful. So the next ruler is a meter stick. I actually got this from Canadian Tire, and it's a meter long. And this is really great if you are, again, when you're drawing patterns, if you need to create a really long line, so like the side seam or something, this is great to really just ensure that your line stays straight. So it's not a necessity, but I would recommend it. Another ruler that's definitely not a necessity is the L square ruler. I also got this from Canadian Tire. These two rulers, you can get them from like a lot of hardware stores like Rona, Lowe's, Home Depot. And then Michael's and then Staples also carries meter sticks. And then you can also obviously like check out a Walmart. So the L square ruler is just really great if you need to create like a 90-degree angle. Just again to make sure it's super straight. It's definitely not necessary, but it's just something I have, and if you want it, it can be very useful. So the next thing you're going to need are obviously writing utensils. So you're going to need a pencil. I would recommend a mechanical pencil just because it really makes sure that the line is thin. Sometimes with the wooden pencils, your lines are a bit thick, and that does affect like your measurements and stuff. Obviously, you can still use them. Just make sure they're really sharp. Also, an eraser, obviously. I also have this eraser because sometimes you need to erase like a really thin, small line, and sometimes this eraser is just like too big. So you can also use like the eraser at like the back of your pencil or one of these retractable erasers. And then the next thing would be some permanent markers. I would recommend you get them in a bunch of colors, just because sometimes you need to distinguish your lines from each other when you're doing pattern making. These are just the Sharpie ones, and I would get the ultra fine tip for the same reason that I recommend like a mechanical pencil, just to really make sure that your line is as thin as possible. And then the next bit of things that you're going to need, so you're going to need tracing wheels for when you're creating darts. So I just have these two. This one is a little bit sharper than this one. I picked this one up at like a random bargain store near my house. So you can check those out. Again, check out all the other places that I've mentioned, like a Michael's, like a Fabricland, Amazon. A lot of these things you can get from those places. So you're going to need a tracing wheel. You're also obviously going to need scissors to cut out your patterns. And then an owl. It's not super necessary, but if you're poking holes, especially when you're like creating dart drill holes, an owl can be super useful. This one I got from Fabricland. And then you're also going to need some tape. So I'm just using masking tape. This is really helpful for when you're doing dart manipulation. If you're doing like slash and spread methods, which I'll kind of like show you how that works as I do more pattern making videos. Taping your pattern together is something you're going to need to do. So some tape. And then also a notcher. This is for creating notches onto your patterns. So this one I got from a store downtown Toronto, like I mentioned, that Queen and Spadina area. And then I know they also carry these on Amazon. So they're like around $11 to $16. So you're going to need a notcher. And then the last thing you're going to need are some pattern weights. So mine, I just got from like a hardware store, and they're just washers. So I have small ones, and then I have these bigger ones. So instead of buying actual pattern weights, I really like these because they're super cheap. You can get them from any hardware store. I got mine from Rona, but you can go to like Home Depot, Lowe's, Canadian Tire. Any of those stores will carry these, and you just want to get them to a big size. I also do have some small ones that I had like around the house. These are nice for if I'm doing something on like a half scale. And they're really good for holding the paper down or holding your block down if it's kind of like curved up and it's not lying as flat as possible, or just keeping it in place while you're tracing things. So you do want to get one that's a little heavier. Some of the washers, they're really thin. So just get something that has a bit of weight to it. And I just store mine in this like empty container. These are super useful. And the size of these ones are 3/4 of an inch. These ones I'm not too sure, but like I said, just get something that's big and has some weight to it. You can get them in a box. I think I got mine. It's like a 1 pound box. I think it was maybe $6 to $10, something like that. You can also pick them up per piece, and it costs like a few cents for each of them. So yeah, I definitely recommend these over actual pattern weights. I'll put a picture of what like an actual pattern weight looks like. Those are a little bit expensive, and they usually just come in a pack of 4, which sometimes is not enough. So I would definitely recommend you use some washers. So that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also check the description box for any links to these products I have down there. I am going to be doing some more pattern making videos. This is just like a first introduction of the supplies that you need. So I'm going to show you how to make your own patterns and how to use each of these supplies. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. If you have any ideas, you can leave them down below, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.